Hello, my name is Melissa Mann, and I'm the author of The Unofficial Family Archivist. And in association with the Archives Info Orphan Photo Contest, I wanted to create this video to show you a few of my own personal orphan photos. I find these images of unidentified people in antique shops in my area, and I use them to write about them in my blog, the archivesinfoblogspot.com, and also to teach about them in workshops and the value of labeling. The first image is of a soldier, and you can often find these in antique shops. They're often very expensive, actually, but this is a lovely one that I found for a reasonable price, and I started wondering about the gentleman. There's writing on the back, and we're very lucky when we get this kind of writing, because sometimes the images have no information associated with them at all. The soldier was apparently on his way home, and it got me thinking about where he was going, who was waiting for him at the other end, what his service was like. One of the nice things about collecting orphan photos is making a connection to the past and thinking about people who lived before us but have similar experiences to people living today. Many people can identify with a soldier away from home and the desire to come home, and sharing of images from overseas. Here's the back of the postcard from 1919 in World War I. The next image is one that I really value. I love this woman's attitude. I believe it's based on other images similar to this that I've seen. I believe this is a woman, an actress, and this is probably an image that she handed around to show her abilities. But I just love that attitude that she conveys, and I call her one of my muses. Reminds me to be strong and to convey maybe not such a snobby attitude, but to be strong. The next image is another person with attitude. This is a young girl. My husband thinks that she must have been a handful, but we love her costume and her glasses, and even the coloring of this image is gorgeous. And I just get to wondering who she might have been, where she lived, what she did. Was she required to wear this outfit and really wanted to be in pants instead? The next image is of two women sharing letters, and it's a delightful image showing the value of correspondence, and I've used it a few times in my writing to talk about that. The hairstyles of people, the outfits they wear, are all very interesting when we're talking about photos. And here, just the value of friendship and closeness is something worth examining and thinking about in this unidentified photo. I love this photo showing the man's connection to his daughter. They're not smiling, which is common in old images. It was hard to smile. The shutter would have to be open much longer, and it would more likely blur if you tried to hold that smile. But here we see the bond between a father and a daughter, and these are common kinds of posed images that people often collected in the past, or often had taken in the past, and that I like to collect. Images of mothers and daughters, or maybe this is a teacher and a student, are also very popular. That big bow I love seeing around the early 20th century. I really wonder who these people are. This woman, again, I call her another one of my muses. As a teacher myself, I really value this image, and I feel a connection to the woman in it. Here's an obvious mother-daughter image, similar to the father-daughter one we saw before. People would often save up their pennies to go and have an image like this taken, to pay for it and have it done. And these two people remind me of my mother and my grandmother, actually, and that's another connection we can make with orphan photos. They probably have lives not unsimilar from those of my own ancestors. We often find baby pictures, and here's one of a chubby, cute little baby. I have pictures of my own brother, who's 8 years younger than I am, that are similar to this. This reminds me of them. One of the great things about orphan photos is that connection you can make from your own life to someone who lived in the past. It reminds us of the thread of humanity and how history runs through all of our lives. Not only the young, but also the old would save their pennies to have pictures taken. Here's a classic example in an oval. I wonder who this woman was. Did she have grandkids? Was she married? Was she widowed? What is her story? And there was no writing on this image, so I have no idea who this woman is. Sometimes we get pictures taken when we're on vacation. This one is similar to some I've seen from Coney Island collections, where they would have on the boardwalk an object for you to pose with, and this is an old classic car, and you go get your picture taken and have a grand old time. So we can connect some of our images to things that were quite common in the past but seem really sentimental or unique or unusual now. This is one of my favorite images. This man, I believe, is a doctor based on what he's carrying. But back when these images were taken, this should have been a blurry image. So I think he was actually posed like this, so the image didn't blur. He's posed to make it look like an action shot, which is kind of unusual and funny. I do wonder who this gentleman is as well. There are often other kinds of images of people at work, not only doctors, but people who use their hands to work. I don't know if this is a leather shop, some kind of shop. You can see the men wearing their big smocks, getting ready to do their hard work. And they obviously stop their work to pose for this image. I wonder who they are. Probably from this area near Massachusetts, a lot of factories like that. When I worked in Waltham, I saw a lot of images like this. Men would come over from Europe and save their money, and to show people who were waiting back home for them that they were doing well, they would have a picture like this taken in their best Sunday suit to send back to their mom or to their girlfriend overseas and say, hey, we're almost ready for you. You can come over soon. We're making some money over here. I love this image of probably a family reunion. Often people put things they value into their pictures, and obviously this house means something to them, a very large family. We don't take our pictures in front of our houses as much today, but it was quite common. Maybe we would pose with just an object. Kids pose with favorite teddy bears. We'd pose in front of the fireplace. Quite an iconic image. Here's a family in their best Sunday dress. I like to think that maybe this was around Christmas time with the snow on the ground. I really have no idea, but one of the fun things about collecting images like this is that you can imagine what was going on and try to place it and try to connect it again to your own life. I can picture families going out to church dressed in their best. This is an old image of a family eating. Food is a common theme, and I'm actually working on a program now related to food. But you can pick. I had recently had fun going through my own albums, looking for images of my own family table, and just thinking about the way we eat today and the way we ate then, and the furniture we used, and the objects we used, and the foods is quite interesting. And here's a Christmas image. I love how in the image is another photo of the kids. It's almost as if they put it there as part of the picture to make the connection to them. We all have photos of family special occasions, snapshots, and formal images are important to preserving our family history and interesting. Oh, and images of us with our friends. This is a fun one. I don't know who they are again. I imagine that they are students, maybe girls away at private school living together. The closeness of the girls in the upper right-hand corner is just adorable and amazing, and here they are preserved for posterity in this picture, even though we don't know who they are. And here's another school image, kids a little younger. This one's, the coloring's a little different. We see the big bows again, so we can connect it to another picture in my collection. I love the shoes, I love the expressions, and I think about my own daughter when I look at this. She's around their age, or the age of the ones in the middle anyway, and there are a lot of these kinds of images around with a whole slew of unidentified kids. Then we have pictures of couples. This is a common pose. They really look very unhappy in this picture, though. The hairstyle of the gentleman at first struck me as unusual when I started collecting photos like this, but this was a common hairstyle. And here they are in their best in a common pose. Here's another couple. We saw the last couple was probably at the beginning of their relationship. These people are a little older, well settled into their relationship, middle aged, dare I say, and probably fairly well off, dressed in their top hat, beautiful dress, walking with a cane. I love the hand in his pocket. Just very, very expressive image of these unidentified people. This one I love because this is a carte de visite, and the woman sits for, these are cards that you would hand out to your friends and put in albums, and here she sits in front of an album in which you would put this kind of picture. So it's kind of neat. She's kind of making a statement about what this picture she is sitting for is actually for. And this one came in an envelope with a little bit of information. I may be able to track her down if I do a little research. Not only do I find individual pictures, but sometimes I find albums. This one is an album of this beautiful young woman. I see her appearing over and over again. That's how I know it's her album. And here she is as a young woman. Beautiful picture, maybe posed for school for this picture. And then as you flip through the album, they get more casual, more like snapshots. You have pictures of her wedding. And in a way, it's a little sad that there were actually 3 albums in the antique shop, and I could only afford one. I hated separating them, but they would just sit there otherwise. Here she is on her wedding day, a group of people with her husband in her best. You can see she's a little bit older here than in the last picture. The album was also filled with pictures of nuns and priests, so I imagine maybe one of her sisters was a nun. I imagine that they came home to visit quite often. It's fun to look through these albums and to try to figure out the family's lives. But again, part of it is very sad that we don't know who these people are or how this even got. This was from an antique shop in Concord, New Hampshire. How this even got into the antique shop. Was it given up on purpose or mistakenly given up? And here's the woman even later in life with a baby and her husband. And you can see the progression of her life in these photos. So those are some of the orphan photos from my collection. I hope that you've enjoyed them, and I hope that you will share some of your photos with me and tell me something interesting about what you have. Thank you very much. Oh, and one more thing. They don't have to be photos you find in antique shops. You can share some from your own personal collections as well.